Right, you're looking for a distortion pedal. Right now there are so many options on the market that it can be a bit of a daunting task to know where to start. So to try and help with this, I've picked out 5 distortion pedals that I think have slightly differing features and slightly interesting features that may well suit your sound. So let's go through them now and see if we can get you a step closer to finding your dream distortion pedal. So before we jump in then, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into the 5 pedals. So to start with, I've gone for the Boss OS2. Now, overdrive and distortion are different flavorings of the same effect. Having something that sits in the middle of those two may well complement your sound quite nicely. Now, what's really great about this is that it lets you, the color control on the right hand side here, lets you dial exactly where between overdrive and distortion you want your tone to sit. So this very quickly lets you go between SD1 and DS1 flavorings all within the same pedal. So if you want a versatile drive distortion with, you know, the dedicated drive, tone and level controls, it's pretty rudimentary on that front, but that color control just opens up extra flavorings, extra voicings for you to try to dial in somewhere likely in the middle to get somewhere between the two effects that may well suit you. So if we show on the overdrive setting, it sounds like this. And as we start to turn it, you can hear slightly more clipping and slightly more gain start to be introduced to the signal. And by the time we turn it all the way to the right-hand side, you start to hear those real DS1 hot tones-esque start to emerge. So the OS2 is a cracking choice, or any pedal that lets you balance the two flavorings of overdrive and distortion in a single box. And it may be a great choice if you don't want something too high gain, something that is a little bit on the lower gain side and pushes your signal to break up nicely. Moving on then, the MTG tube distortion is to my ears a completely different flavour of distortion. It's got a far more open sound, and the name, the tube distortion, kind of fits the sonic character that it's filling. It's more emulating the sound of an amp, a valve amp pushed to break up. So that more open tone, it's got, you know, slightly more harmonics ringing through, less clipping. And this is great if you want a more organic sounding distortion, one that doesn't maybe stifle your guitar as much. If you really want the tonal character of the instrument and the amp to emerge, then something that is more on the tubey side is a great choice for this. So to demonstrate what that sounds like, and the other neat thing about the tube distortion is the addition of a dedicated boost foot switch with its own 2-band control. So if you've got a solo coming up where you want to keep your distortion on but you want to lift your signal a bit, you've got the option as well. So the utility present in the pedal is fantastic, and if you want a live distortion maybe that has kind of multi-purpose controls, the MTG tube distortion excels at that. Moving on again, so we're kind of going almost up in gain as we move from left to right here. The Proco Rat is a staple of the distortion world. It's got a very unique voicing, it's very characterful, and it does sit on the higher gain side. It's got almost a fuzzy voicing, which has lent itself really well to grunge and slightly heavier genres of music, because you can really hear the clipping start to emerge, and it really breaks up your tone in quite a pleasant way that isn't completely towards fuzz yet, but sits nicely, I would say, in the middle of the two, and hence why it has been a mainstay on pedal boards since its inception. So that kind of distortion voicing, thick, sounds like this. So I've picked this because this is just a mainstay of the distortion world. It's got maybe it might not be for everyone, but its character has meant that it has built its legacy on the back of having a fundamentally unique tone. And if you want something in maybe a similar vein in terms of voicing, but with a bit more flexibility, a little bit more versatility, the TC Magus Pro is a cracking choice for this, or the Grand Magus, very similar voicings. But the reason why I've included this is this little addition of a switch here opens up a world of tonal options and greatly expands the versatility on offer in the box. So it can get, you know, as it says, your classic tones, but you've also got fat and turbo within those voicings, all sculptable with the 3 controls to just gently expand what's there and let you dial in with a little more detail what you are looking for out of your kind of higher gain distortion pedal. So the turbo mode is my favorite. It's a bit of a play around. I think that's kind of balances the kind of fuzzy tones with the openness and expressiveness that you still want out of distortion without it being a dedicated fuzz. And that sounds like this. But equally, if you start to, you know, put it on the fat mode, which is a little bit thicker, woollier, and turn the gain, you can hear it very quickly start to steer into kind of thicker and fuzzier territories. And a lot of TC pedals tend to have a switch like that to let you quickly switch voicings on the fly and give you kind of extra tonal options to explore, which in a pedal like this is superb. And then finally, we've got another staple of the distortion world, and I know what everyone will say, this is a fuzz pedal. It wasn't designed as one. I think the voicing is fuzzy, but it was originally, if you look on the original units, it says Distortion Sustainer. That's what it was designed as. Now this does distinctly have a fuzzy voicing. It's very hard clipping and it gets the kind of Velcro-y fuzz tones that you expect. But I've included it on this list because that might be what you're looking for. You might be thinking you're looking for a distortion pedal, but actually you want something with a fuzzier flavour. Similar to the Rat, it's got a very unique voicing. It's one of the most famous pedals of all time for good reason. And if you want something that is going to kind of the opposite of maybe the tube distortion, which is open and expressive, something that is going to come in and give you a thick kind of pummeling, fuzzy distortion sound, there is a reason many people beeline for the Big Muff. And that tone, as you've heard millions of times before, sounds like this. And I guess what's interesting about the Big Muff is the tone controls, your volume, tone, and then sustain. And that is what's indicative of its unique design and what was originally designed as a distortion pedal, but is now primarily categorized as a fuzz. So as I say, this isn't a best of list. This isn't me telling you to buy any of these pedals. It was using them as an example to show features that may well enhance and add to your sound. Now, of course, if one of these on their own isn't enough for you, you can always stack them, which I wouldn't recommend, but that would sound something like this. Okay, so hopefully there, as I say, we've got you a little bit closer to knowing what you are looking for in a distortion, some of the features that make up these fantastic pedals that add, enhance and boost your signal and your sound. If you've enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. I've been Tom for Gear4music. Thank you for watching.